What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to AFL Fantasy Wednesday Trade Talk ahead of round 3. We're going to be going through the most traded in and out players and who I think are the top 5 best targets to look at for your team this weekend. And I'll also go through what my trades are at this stage midweek. We're a day away before footy gets underway. So really looking forward to round 3 and hopefully moving back up in the rankings. And I hope you guys move up in the rankings as well. Probably not ahead of me. No, I'm just kidding. I hope we all go very well. All right, so let's get stuck into who the most traded in players are for this week. So it shouldn't be no surprise for who the top 2 are. So the most traded in player for this week is Will Setterfield. He's been brought in by 16,500 coaches already. And I'm sure that's probably going to rise before Thursday night and then even Friday night hits. So he's a great option. Obviously, 122 and 130 in his first 2 games as a bomb. I think I saw a stat as well that in all his games for the GWS Giants and Carlton, he didn't record a game where he had 26 disposals and a goal. In both his games for Essendon, he's had both. He's been able to, in both games, he's recorded 26 disposals and a goal in each. So he's had an incredible start. Is he going to continue at 126 average? No. But I think he can go at a 90 plus average from here, which means that if he's priced at in the 80s range, if he goes at 90, 95, I still think it's a good pick. And he's got such a low break even that he's going to make money and he's 717k. He's going to be 800k soon, and it won't be that much to swap him to a Josh Kelly type player, a Bont if he comes good, someone like LDU. Someone that's in that sort of mid 800s to low 900s, it won't cost you much to get up. And if not, you just keep him to the buys, which is probably what we're going to do. So, great option. Jack Ziebell's next on the list. 8.4k coach have brought him in. I don't get 3 people have traded Setterfield out and 2 people have traded Ziebell out. I don't quite get it. But regardless, Ziebell, great option. Also, great matchup this week. That sugar hit you're going to get this week against Hawthorn at UTAS Stadium. Who's got that defender role, back-to-back 109s. And yeah, I just think he's a good option. He's going to get defender status in round 6, so that will help being able to put him and Harry Sheezel back in defence. So I do really like him as an option. Obviously, the risk associated with him is the fact that he is 32, and that, yeah, it's 32, and he has got probably that little bit of injury risk. And also, if Aaron Hall comes back in, he had 37 disposals in the VFL on the weekend. If he comes back in, then that could cause a little bit of drama in terms of selection moving forward. So next on the list is Nick Dacos. He's just been fantastic to start the year. And I got it wrong. And I know a few people got it wrong as well. We jumped at Shadows after him getting tagged in the preseason against Hawthorn. I think he still will have games where he does put in a 70, but we thought he was going to do it against Port Adelaide, and he went and scored a 117. So he's just a freak. He's so good. And yeah, Richmond, again, I would have just assumed that maybe a Jack Graham or someone goes to him, but I've assumed that before, and look what he's done. So yeah, Nick Dacos, he's a very good option. So he's obviously rising in price. What's he priced at now? He's priced at 821. So he has gone up. He's got a low break even. He's going to continue to go up in cash. So if you want to jump on, now is a pretty good week to do. I think next week as well, but it is a good week. So Nick Dacos is also a very, very good option to look at bringing in. LDU is a pretty good option to bring in. I don't know about this week. I think he gets a tag by McGuinness. Again, I don't think he's going to be dropping a 50 or a 60. I think that he's too good of a player to be doing that. I think at worst, I think he could go, well, I can't say at worst because obviously anything can happen, but I think if he gets tagged and nullified, I think he can go minimum 70. I think that he'll still put up a reasonable score. He won't have, obviously, his uncontested stuff, but he still gets a lot of contested work and he still tackles. So I think his floor is pretty high compared to what it has been in previous years, obviously taking that step up. So I don't mind jumping on him this week, but obviously when you jump on players, you want that sugar hit. And LD, I don't know if you're going to get that massive sugar hit this week, but moving forward, he will be a very good option. So I don't mind jumping on him this week. 4,000 have done that. Will Day as well, 3.1k coaches have brought him in. I've started with him, and he's been fantastic the first 2 games, going 90 plus in both games. I was a bit worried about the Sydney matchup at the SCG, but it didn't matter. He still scored a 92, so very happy with him. North Melbourne this week, good matchup. Again, like what I talked with LDU, he'll put up a good score this week, and he's got a low break even, making money. Great option to look at. Clayton Oliver, 2.9k coach, are bringing him in. I'm not sure I'd be paying that over $1 million. It's just a high price to pay when you can save money. Like you've got a Josh Kelly who's a tick under 900k that you can go and get. I know he's come off concussion and he isn't still confirmed to be playing, but I think he will. But you can go to him. You've got players that are cheaper. LDU, if you want to go there as well, you can save a fair bit of money going there. If you haven't got a Setterfield, I'd rather go there. You got obviously your Ziebells if you want to go even further. I don't even mind Tom Green as well. I know people are a little bit cold on him after last week, but I still think Tom Green is still not a bad option. But hey, I think a lot of those people are going from Jack Steele to Oliver, and if Jack Steele was your M1 and you want a captain option, I think you can't go wrong with Clayton Oliver. And Rory Laird probably very similar in that boat as well. So Samson Ryan as well, a few people jumping on him, 2.7k. I like the flexibility because not this round. I noticed in the round review that I said if I bring in Samson Ryan, I can loop this week, but I can't because Samson Ryan plays first and Manheath plays after. So I can't quite do that. But in future weeks, you might be able to do something like that. So, and I think job security is good. I think Soldo's ruled out for 3 to 5 weeks on the injury report. So Samson Ryan, I think his job security short term is pretty good. So I think he'll at least hold for the next fortnight and make some decent enough cash. Kay Chandler as well. People still getting on him. Negative 21 break even. I'd definitely be getting on him. Harry Sheasel, 2.2k coach are bringing him in. I'm just assuming that those are just the unlucky coaches that just haven't been able to get him in. But it's crazy that people haven't got him in yet. But yeah, if you haven't got him, jump on board. What's his ownership up to actually, by the way, now? Yeah, 69%. Yeah, it should be 100% because he is an absolute freak. And then Charlie Constable as well as the other player that's over 2,000 coaches. Revenge game against Geelong. Could put up a good score. I think he'll hold his spot as well. He played well last week and he's looking good. I know Sean Lemons and Will Power are looking like they could potentially be in this week. But I think they come in for maybe a Bodie and a Darcy McPherson instead. I think that Charlie Constable will hold his spot. And he's been looking good. But then again, just keep an eye to make sure he does get named, because if he doesn't, we're going to have to deal with that, which will be a bit annoying. That may mean I might not be able to get a Setterfield in this week, which will be an absolute tragedy. But yeah, so we'll move on to the most traded out players. So the most traded out, so Jack Macrae, 7,000 coaches are giving him the boot. I can understand why. 41% CBAs on the weekend. Bulldogs, what's going on with them? Bevo saying they're going to be innovative this week. What does that mean? Does that mean Macrae's going to be less more in the midfield? Does it mean he's going to go back to putting him in the midfield? Who knows? We don't know what's going to go on with the Dogs. Out of him, Bailey Smith and Bont, I've got the least amount of confidence in Macrae. It's a luxury trade. If you've got worse stuff like, for example, Dom Sheed, who we'll speak about in a sec, or a Tanner Brun, or Jason Orn-France, I'd rather get rid of those guys because they're the failed mid-prices that we need to jump off of. Whereas a guy like a Jack Macrae is a proven premium. But then again, you can always go him to Setterfield, and you can go Sheed to an LDU, for example, or a Jack Ziebell. So you've got options there. So I don't mind the trade out of Jack Macrae, but just make sure he is your worst player in your team. Well, the worst issue you've got in your team, then you can jump off. Jack Steele, obviously you have to jump off him. 4.9k coaches are doing that, and obviously he'll just increase. Obviously most of his coaches will get rid of him. Obviously that broken collarbone means he'll miss at least 4 weeks. And yeah, for me, if he's your M1, I don't mind the play of going to a Brayshaw or a Laird or an Oliver or a sort of a big midfielder that's going to score you points and be your captain option, because Doherty and Dunkley, obviously Doc was good round 1 but quiet last week. Dunkley hasn't gone 100 plus yet. A few guys have been sort of faltering and not been good captain options. So if you can get the M1 to be a solid captain option, I do like that. But if he was your M2 and you already had an Oliver or a Laird as your M1, I think going him down to a Josh Kelly, a Tom Green, a Will Setterfield, someone like that, I think is a play as well. So, but yeah, literally team dependent, but that would be what I'd be doing there. Matt's Gawn, 4.7k coach. That was just unlucky as well, because at least Steele went and got a 118 for you, whereas Gawn injured on 4. You've got to move off of him. He'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And yeah, again, what do you do? I think you go straight to the top. I think you go to English or Marshall. I think you get one of those two in. Darcy, we saw last round that you can't trust him. I know you have a good matchup this week against West Coast, but I would rather go to an English or a Marshall. Grundy isn't a bad option, but again, he's only there for 4 to 6 weeks. As stated, I said in the pod, how many trades do you want to be wasting in your rucks? Because when Gawn gets back, you're going to have to trade Grundy. So I wouldn't be doing that, even though he does have the Sydney matchup and then the West Coast matchup. You'd be relying on him to go 130 in those games to make good cash, and then maybe you can make some money going him down to Gawn, maybe when Gawn comes back. So, yeah, or at an English or a Marshall. But, yeah, Dom Sheed, 3.8 coaches are giving him the boot. And at the moment, I'm currently one of them as well. Just as DC said on the Hat Chat pod as well, West Coast game style is now, it's a quicker game style, and he seems to be that in and under play now. He doesn't seem to be that guy that's getting on the outside, getting those plus sixes, but then getting a lot of ball. He seems to be the guy that's getting a lot of handballs and feeding it out to all your hard runners at West Coast. So, yeah, I'd be moving off of him. I've got that decision. Him or Callaghan was what I was looking at, and I think I'm probably going to stick with Callaghan because Domshee's got more money on his head as well, and it's a lot easier to get to a Setterfield type player. So I do like moving off of him. Again, it's not a must move because he's still performing at what he was a little bit more than what he's priced at. I think he's priced 67. He's going at 76. So he's still doing a little bit better, but you want 85 minimum from him to be a good pick. So yeah, I'm happy to move off him. Jason Francis, I was always a bit unsure with him after his 90 in round one. He had a big quarter in that game to get to the 90, and he played really, really well to get to a 90. So last week, 43. He's not going to be that bad every week, but I just would move off of him. I don't see the upside really there of being an 80 plus most weeks. His break-even is now 74, so it's gone from low to now it's quite high. So I'd be moving off of him and getting to a Jack Ziebell. That'd be my trade there if you can get that done. Finn Callaghan, 3.1k coaches. I was one of these guys that wanted to get rid of him, but from what it sounds like, Adam Kingsley said it was just a stinger to his shoulder. He's all good. He's fine to play this week. I don't even believe he's on the injury report either. So, yeah, he should be fine. But then again, I could be wrong about that. So, I probably should check that actually while I'm finishing the video to make sure that I've got my information correct. But yeah, so Callaghan, Carlton are a little bit of a tougher matchup this week, but he's still got a 31 break even, and he's shown that he can have big quarters. And I know people can see that as a negative and a positive. The negative is if he has a bad game, then and he doesn't get that big quarter, he's going to have a poor score. Whereas if he puts a couple of positive is he puts a couple of those quarters together, he's going to have a big score and then can continue to make cash. But yeah, I'd persist. But yeah, if he's your worst issue, you can definitely jump off him. So look, just looking at GLS's injury report here. And Finn Callaghan was not listed on the injury report, so he is all good. So he'll be fine. Tanner Brun, 3.1k coach jumping off. I would as well. It's just since Tom Stewart went down, he's been sort of pushed more to a wing, and he's only playing like 65% game time. So yeah, you just have to jump off him, even though Geelong have got a good sort of 5 or 6 weeks, barring that Sydney matchup in like round 7. So yeah, I'd be jumping off of him. Andrew McGrath as well, 2k coach jumping off. I don't think I would. Defenders aren't really doing that good anyway. Like your Nick Dacos is obviously doing fantastic. Doc is doing his thing. You got a couple of guys there that are averaging like quite well. So like let's get it up here actually, just quickly. So defenders, if you're looking at average, so you got your Luke Ryan, obviously he's doing really well, but I don't see that maintaining. Nick Dacos doing great. Same with Brendan Cox for Luke Ryan, not going to maintain that. Sisley's been very good, averaging 109. Redmond 104. Does Zerk Thatcher going down? Does that mean he plays more of an accountable role? Obviously, Crozier and Aiden Core have only played one game. They're not going to be top 6 defenders. Jake Lloyd has been solid to start the year. I just don't see that maintaining. Like Rioli's been solid. Sinclair, obviously, and Dawson, obviously, are both good picks. But then you start getting your 90s. So McGrath's not that far off of those top guys the way the season started. So I don't think he's a must trade. Again, similar to what I said with obviously he's less of a concern than like a Dom Sheed. But if he's your biggest concern, you're in a very, very good position. So, and yeah, you can always move off, but I'd stick with him. He's got St Kilda this week. Good matchup for defenders from what we've seen to start the season. And then he's also got Giants the week after who can also leak some points. So, yeah, I would stick with McGrath. I'd give him at least till round 6, that Collingwood matchup. If he struggles the next 3 weeks, I'd then jump off of him to another defender. But I guess if he's your worst issue, going him to Dacos isn't a bad option. So that's something to consider. And then I just want to mention as well, I don't go players that have been trading by in or out by more than 2,000 coaches, but Josh Dunkley at 1.9k, I just wouldn't be jumping off of him. He struggled in the first game. Port Adelaide, very, very tough matchup. And then second game was against Melbourne. Only played 69% game time as well for a 97. He was in essentially every centre bounce. He'll be fine. Obviously, Dogs as well, not an easy matchup. And then some in Collingwood, but then he'll have a nice run from rounds 5 till the bye. So I would be sticking with him. He's going to be a top 6 forward. He's going to be the number 1 or 2 forward. And I think he'll be the number 1. So I'd be sticking with him. But then again, Sheasel could be number 1. You never know. Nah, he won't be number 1. But Sheasel's been amazing. But yeah, so they're the most traded in and out players. In terms of what my top 5 targets are, so my top target this week would be Will Setterfield. As I mentioned before, he's been great to start the year. 90% CBA role as well last week, and he's just been that bulk CBA. He's had, I think, more CBAs than in Merritt and Parrish last week. I think Merritt had 90 as well, but he seems to be that sort of that number 2, or if not number 1 midfielder. He won't get tagged. He's a great option. He's going to make cash, and best case scenario, averages 105 plus, and he becomes a keeper. That's best case scenario. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you never know. There's been players before we haven't thought are going to be keepers, and then they've just turned out to be. Like, we didn't think George Hewitt last year was going to be a keeper, and look what happened. He became a keeper. Will Brodie was essentially a keeper. He was averaging in that mid-90s range as a forward. So, and Nick Dacos, his first year, averaged 86. People kept him for pretty much all year. So, yeah, I think Will Setterfield, great option. Number 2, and obviously this list is assuming you've got Sheezel and your Jinbys and your Chandlers. Like, I'd be jumping on them first. You need these rookies. But Will Setterfield would be number 1. I think Jack Ziebell's number 2 for me with that role. Looks really good. Obviously, this is an asterisk. If Aaron Hall was to come in on Thursday night, obviously, I wouldn't be considering him at all. I wouldn't bring him in just with that risk that Ziebell could go forward. He could be defence, but it'll be a lot. His ceiling will be lower. But even if Hall, no, not even. If Hall doesn't come in, and it's all good, which I don't think he will, great option. Hawthorn this week should be good. And he'll get defender status, could potentially be the top sort of 10 to 12 defender and average 90 plus and become almost a season-on keeper. So, yeah, again, I do like him as an option. At number 3, I just have Will Day ahead of James Warp at number 4. So Will Day had a lot more CBAs last week. I think it was 60%. He had more than Warple, and he just looks good. He's got that good mix of inside and outside. He's able to get tough in the contest and get the ball out, but he's also able to spread and get your +6s. So I really like him as an option. And as a defender as well, we have many defenders scoring well, and he is one that's scoring well at the moment. North Melbourne this week should be a good matchup for him, so I'd be looking at him. As I said, number 4, James Warple. He's playing well enough that he's spot in the side safe. Like, he's not going to be getting dropped. He's in the team. That CBA sort of mix is going to be fluid throughout the year for Hawthorn. They're going to put a lot of guys through there. So I'm not too fussy. He played half forward a little bit on the weekend. I just think they were just running a few extra guys through there. But that is something to just keep an eye on, that maybe in 3-4 weeks when he's made another 100 or so K, you could jump off then, just in case Hawthorn decide to put him more at half forward or something like that. But I don't think they will. He's a big body. He's a mature body. I think he's going to spend a good amount of time in the midfield, minimum 60% in the midfield. So I would be looking at him at number 4. And then number 5 is a tricky one. You've got a few options you could put there. Like an LDU would be good, but I think I'm just going to put Nick Dacos in there. I've got Nick Dacos in there. He's just been too good to leave out of your top 5 for the week. You could arguably put him at 2 or 3, to be honest. You could easily switch him up there. But yeah, Richmond this week, again, he could still cop attention. And if you look at sort of his upcoming fixtures, he could cop attention for everyone. Like, Richmond obviously could get a Jack Graham, or if they put a Liam Baker or someone on him like that. Brisbane, do they send a Starcevic forward for a game to put some attention into him to shut him down? I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Fagan did something like that. Or do they put a defensive forward on him like a Lincoln McCarthy or someone like that? So that's an option as well. And the Gabba's a hard game. St Kilda should be okay unless they put like a Mitch Owens or a Windhager onto him. So that's obviously one to look at as well. And then round 6, I wouldn't be surprised if a Caldwell goes to him on Anzac Day. So could potentially get some attention in the next 4 weeks. But again, he's just shown the first 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. He can score well. And also that Sydney matchup round 8, you can pretty much lock in Ryan Clark will be in the team tagging Nick Dacos that game, because they've done it in, I think they did in both games they played last year. So something to keep an eye on. But yeah, my trades for this week, at the moment, I'm going Tom Power. I was about to say Will Power then. Tom Power all the way down to a Samson Ryan or a Miller Bergman or an Arthur Jones. I'm unsure of who I'm going to go yet. At the moment, I'm leaning Miller Bergman just with I think he's got good job security. Put him in defence. If Wilmot was to fail on Thursday night, I can play Bergman against Hawthorn this week. It's a pretty good matchup. He could score a 50 plus in that game. So, yeah, Samson Ryan as well, not a bad option. Gives me that ruck forward flexibility. And then my other trade will be going Dom Sheed at the moment up to a Will Setterfield. I've looked at Finn Callahan up to Setterfield. I can afford it. I think having the extra cash in the bank to potentially upgrade a Callahan next week, upgrade a Macrae, it gives me a few more options. I should have done it last week. I should have gone power down, straight down to Chandler and not done Fergus Green, because Fergus Green did end up scoring a 50, but I could have held Fergus Green and played Chandler on field. But such is life. We make little errors and we got to move on from them. So that's what I'm looking at doing this round. But good luck to you all for this week. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are looking at doing with your trades. And if you've got any trade questions or anything like that, put them in the comments below. I will be obviously back for the daily news recap later on this evening. So make sure you tune into that to get your daily news fix for everything AFL fantasy related. And I think the next video I'll be on after that will be the watch-alongs on Friday and Saturday for the Collingwood-Richmond game and the showdown, Adelaide and Port Adelaide. So make sure you tune in to those watch-alongs here. They'll be live on YouTube. So turn notifications on so you miss when I go live for those and then any other content that gets published. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think we're now 6 away from 800. So if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. Takes 2 clicks and you're good to go. I think as well, I saw a stat as well. Over 50% of people that watching the content on the channel haven't subscribed yet. So if you haven't, appreciate all the support that you guys show. Social media links in the description below. Follow me across all those and I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm out. Cheers.